r/ask Reddit. Hotel workers of Reddit. What is the worst thing you have found in a room after a guest stay? Worked at an upscale ski resort. One family let their toilet training kid pee behind the toilet and under the sink throughout their whole visit. Then put our white towels on top of it to help clean up the mess. Whole place smelled like a freaking rhino enclosure. Ruined the towels. I had an elderly couple check in one afternoon. A couple hours go by and the husband comes up saying the wife is sick and they need to leave immediately. Given the circumstances, we figured it would be a quick clean, so we refunded the money and downed the room for the night. The next morning we tell one of our maids to hit it first since we knew it was empty. The maid came back refusing to clean the room because there was it all over the bathroom. I didn't really believe her because she tended to be lazy, so I decided to check it out myself. She wasn't lying. There was it everywhere. I don't know how, but there was it on the toilet seat, on the tank, under the vanity and on the wall under the vanity, on the floor next to the toilet, on the wall behind the toilet, and on the side of the bathtub. This lady must have blown out her arsehole while falling over to it. How and where she it. The smell was horrendous. I ended up having to clean it. I went through 3 bottles of our strongest cleaner plus an entire garbage bag of cleaning rags which were immediately trashed. We had to down the room another 5 nights with the use of 5 bottles of air freshener and open windows. I'll never forget that. A syringe under a mattress. After I felt a prick on the end of my finger, I was tucking in a sheet under the bed, and there were actually 2 uncovered insulin needles under there. I got rushed to hospital, hepatitis shots and a tetanus shot, 2 different HIV prevention medication for a month, monthly blood tests for about a year. I'm fine, and it barely stuck me in truth, but I was already afraid of needles and disease. I still feel traumatized. I was not going to post at all, but I've always wondered if there was anything else I should have done. The doctors assured me that they were more precautious than necessary. A dead body. Someone ended up killing themselves in the hotel room by hanging themselves in the closet. Was in there a few days before we found him. Worst to clean up, not because it was gross, but because it was annoying and time consuming, was popcorn. A baseball team stayed in a couple rooms and I guess they had those like caramel popcorn balls that they had just thrown all over the room. At the walls, furniture. It stuck to the carpet and was almost impossible to vacuum. Popcorn everywhere. Doesn't sound that bad, with caramel, and there it is. Someone pooped in the nightstand. It had been there long enough to dry out, so it took nearly an hour to scrub it clean. Another room had bloody menstrual pads stuck all over the walls at random. I guess I'm just disgusting because I'm completely unfazed by hotel rooms. I used to travel a lot for work and I ended up staying in some pretty sketch hotels, so a visibly clean days in is alright in my book. I even think about it sometimes, like I'll be lying on the bed and think people have probably done some pretty ducked up things on this bed and I'll just shrug and go back to watching TV. Likewise, I worked on a road crew for almost a decade. Hotels like a Red Roof or a Days Inn were palace grade compared to what we saw. As grunt workers, we got the cheapest, most rancid run-down fleabag rooms, and we created a game for it. Who slept on the biggest blood stain? I was 3-year running champ thanks to a bevy of single bullet hole soaked mattresses. Almost got toppled when a co-worker found broken teeth and a shell casing. What we never graded on was the smell, though we should have. One spot in Florida, the room smelled like someone soaked up their ass with 2 sloppy wet apple pies, then shat on a tray of baking salmon. Old couple checked out and left a huge box of X toys. Not that bad, right? We keep items for 90 days. Hotel gets first dibs after that. Say it's an iPad that would be good for something. Then whoever found it gets second dibs. Then GM. Then it's whoever wants it. Head housekeeper kept them locked in her desk. BC she wanted first dibs and was scared someone else would take them. One time a toy was left in a room at the hotel I work at. Not a big deal. It happens. Nobody claimed it, so the housekeepers wrapped it up and gave it to one of the older ladies who worked in laundry as a gag gift. The only thing is, she thought it was a legitimate gift and was about to take it home until they explained it was a joke. Woman with mysophobia, fear of germs, stayed with us. She never let the cleaning ladies into the room as she preferred to clean it herself. One day she leaves to go out and removes the "Do Disturb" sign. Maid calls down and says the room has a strong chemical odor and found bags of pee and poop in the drawers. A bachelorette party came through, and after they left the next night we had a new rule that charges a $400 glitter fee. But I mean, you couldn't see the floor, so much glitter. It's been a few years and you can probably still find glitter in the carpet throughout the hotel. Two worst experiences I had to witness were: a couple came to the desk early in the AM. They clearly had been in an all-out fist fight. They were a cash-paying customer and all they said was, "Sorry, we got in a fight. There is blood in the room. We are HIV positive." Then they took off. Room was an absolute horror show. Had to hire special cleaners to come gut the room and ended up replacing basically everything in the room. Room was up for almost a year. Same hotel. We had some wards of the state types staying. Worst were a couple with a newborn. They couldn't afford basically anything, so made the decision to use our towels as diapers. The state wouldn't let us kick them out and they were just taking the towels off the cards. Ended up having to evict them from the hotel as they had been there long enough to establish residency. A USB drive with 2 different versions of their obituary that they typed up for themselves. A blood-soaked Dora the Explorer doll. There were no kids in the room. As far as we know, it was just one dude in his mid-30s. There were 2 cans of Monster Energy drink beside it and $180 left in tips under the pillow. No idea what was going on. It was a hallway. I worked the front desk. A little league baseball team was staying the night and a guest complained to my manager about bats flying around. My manager assumed the baseball team was just being rowdy and headed up to tell them to calm down. Turns out it wasn't baseball bats, just a normal old flying bat hanging out in the hallway. A friend used to clean hotel rooms as a side job. Once he found a rid on the nightstand with a slice of cheese on top. Another time, he went into a room to clean and this woman was lying on the bed naked. He apologized and started to leave. She offered him €50 to spit on her while she played with herself. He spat on her pizza, and not just like leftovers, an entire pizza, and not a single slice of it in the box. The first red flag we found was the slice of pizza smeared all over on the TV. Then we saw 2 slices side by side like they had worn them for slippers and dragged their feet across the floor. 1 slice in the dresser, 1 in the nightstand, 1 in the sheets, and 1 in the bathroom sink. We cleaned the room as normal and put all the pizza in the box. The whole time I'm wondering why someone would do this. Was the pizza not good? Was 1 slice enough and you had to buy the whole thing? I'm doing the final checks in the room and it still smells like pizza. I flick the lamp on and look for the final slice. I finally find it, shadowed in the lampshade. This individual had smeared the last slice on the inside of the lampshade. That was the final piece of the puzzle, or pizzazoodle. This person bought an entire pizza just to hide it in his hotel room. I worked at a hotel a few years ago. Front desk. I checked out a nice couple in the morning. They were very friendly, said they enjoyed their stay. Then housekeeping got to their room. The poor woman looked shell-shocked. I got to go through the room with a camera and my supervisor to document the state of the room. 2 large, black, double-headed toys, lots of Ziploc baggies with powdery residue, syringes, some used, some still with caps on them, including 2 in the toilet, and more travel-sized bottles of baby oil than I could count. We also found what appeared to be feces and blood smeared all over the bedding and walls and a small digital camera. Police were called, descriptions of them taken, and all their information they had used to check in. I quit soon after, so I don't know if they ever found them or pressed charges. A little late, but I have to. Found bloody parrot feathers all over a room. They claimed it was service animal. It wasn't, and had gotten too stressed and pulled all of its plumage out. The guest tried to blame the hotel for noise. We charged them for the cleanup. Was balancing month end one day when the front was swarmed with police cars. They raided a room with no notice to us at the front desk. Turned out a pimp was cooking in one of rooms with 2 ladies and a dog. There was a short standoff before everyone was arrested. Their car was seemingly forgotten about in the parking lot, but it disappeared a week later. We were unable to charge for damages since all of their cards were stolen. Not me, but my dad. He was the director of housekeeping for a worldwide hotel chain. His housekeepers didn't know what to do with a Jerthy 12-inch toy suction cup on the writing table. It was still very moist, he said. Then he looked up who stayed in the room to see if maybe they wanted it back, but it was too tiny. Frail little old ladies, canes and all. And he said it was too embarrassing to contact them, so he waited a bit to see if they'd call asking for it, but they never did. He ended up throwing it out. I'd really appreciate it if you liked and subscribed.
for watching. Be sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe to be entered into our iMac giveaway.